Yes, and the man in the check shirt. Yes, sir, in the check shirt.
Yeah. I'd just like to say that the reason that the Labour Party have changed is because we're a democratic party and we listen to our members and we agree things. We're not a dictatorship like the SNP where one man decides everything.
In what sense? I mean, in fairness to the SNP, do they not have democratic party structures?
You bet they do.
It doesn't seem that way when you see them on the television now. It's only one man who makes all the decisions.
Well, this man was kicked out of office by them.
So. Well, there you are.
He just does what he's told, doesn't he?
James was just commenting on my indignity and all of this, but you believe you me, the SNP is a thoroughly democratic party, power resting in our members, but we come to the decisions that are right for the people of Scotland because we're ambitious for the people of Scotland and we're no apology for that.
Swinny, I mean, doesn't Jackie Baillie have a point here? I mean, we have seen a parade of big companies saying they are concerned, at the very least, about independence. BP, the Alliance Trust, RBS, Lloyds, Shell, Agreco was mentioned there as well. Don't these companies have genuine concerns that you have not addressed?
I think what you've got to do is to look at what these companies are actually undertaking as part of the exercise which has given rise to these points that have been made. Each company is setting out what are the political issues that they have to face going forward. As well as talking about Scottish independence, all these companies are also talking about the threats to their business arising out of the referendum on EU membership that the Conservative government wants to have in 2017.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that the independence threat is not a threat,
So what I'm simply saying is that these companies have a duty in terms of their responsibility as directors, as board members, to set out the political issues that they face. Now, to look at the substance of this issue, in 2011, the Chancellor of the Exchequer came to Scotland and he basically said the holding of the referendum debate of itself is undermining foreign direct investment in Scotland. And we have seen since then 2 years of what has been described as sparkling economic growth in foreign direct investment in Scotland. So all of this talk about the uncertainties and difficulties of independence, to me, is baseless. What independence is about creating the economic opportunities to do all that we can with the powers, the responsibilities and the resources to create the economic opportunities that enable young women like Suzanne to have a vibrant and dynamic career within an independent Scotland in a way that far too many people from my generation have been unable to find those careers because of the economic.
They come down to planet Earth with this ludicrous fantasy nonsense about having a sterling zone, because the people you're going to be in negotiation with two sides, you on one side, the rest of the parties in the UK on the other side, and they are saying no.
I'll come back to you. I'll give you a chance. Tessa Hartman, you were...
Buttons for a currency.
Say that again, sir.
We might as well use buttons for a currency.
All right, Tessa.
Could all this uncertainty not be sorted out before we were asked to go to the polls? It would have been quite easy to have everything put on the table for us, the electorate, to make an informed decision in advance. This is open to us. The SNP and the Scottish Government offered it in advance. It was turned down. OK, there is, though, I think it's fair to say there's some concern in the room about the currency. I mean, the gentleman there said we might as well use buttons for the currency.
Well, let's go back to look at the substance of this. Mark Carney came to Edinburgh a few weeks ago and set out the basis upon which a currency union could be established between an independent Scotland and the rest of the United Kingdom. And all of the issues that Mr Carney raised in what I thought was a very thoughtful and dispassionate analysis of this issue were considered by the Fiscal Commission. They were all about the way in which we would undertake prudential regulation across the whole of the sterling zone, about how we would have to sign up as an independent country to a fiscal framework around the amount of debt that we'd have to incur and the amount of borrowing that we could undertake. All of these issues were foreseen by the Fiscal Commission in the work that was undertaken. And what this whole debate misses is the fact, and the comments of the other political parties that have made comments on all this, is the interests of the rest of the United Kingdom. Is a UK Chancellor going to turn round to businesses in the rest of the UK and say, I am now going to make your business proposition less competitive by increasing your costs of dealing with Scotland, which is the second biggest market that you will deal with as part of your export activities?
Jackie Baillie,
that is a most unlikely proposition.
Well, Scotland, if it becomes independent, will not be the only country in the world from which the main source of wealth is a particular resource, a natural resource. There are many other countries around the world, I mean, the other oil producers, and then countries like South Africa and Brazil, which are dependent on particular commodities. Now, to say that Scotland is uniquely incapable of dealing with such a situation is complete nonsense.
How would an independent Scotland cope with what the government accounts show we saw in the last financial year, a 41.5% drop in oil revenue?
Well,
say that happened in the first year
again,
of independence.
All governments all over the world, from time to time, suffer falls in particular types of revenue.
Shocks that big.
The UK government suffers falls in revenue. The French government, the German government, the Chinese government, they all suffer falls in revenue. There are good years and bad years. It doesn't mean because you have one bad year, then your whole economy is going to pieces. As the First Minister pointed out, over the last 5 years, we've actually, taking all those 5 years together, done rather well. It can come as no surprise that after 4 good years, you get 1 lean year. And any sensible state, any sensible government will have mechanisms, and the mechanisms are available to deal with this kind of situation.
When there are enormous capital projects in London, HS2, the Cross Rail Link, all of these things which are costing absolutely millions of pounds, and yet you're saying that being in a stronger economy would be better. Firstly, I don't agree that it would be stronger, but secondly, the vast amount of money that's being spent to bring trains from London to the north, Manchester, 4.5-hour drive from here to get to Manchester. How is that the north? That's not a fair distribution of the funding.
Thank you very much.